Hello friends of the channel. This is a story where a family inherits a large house in the countryside. The residence is surrounded by open spaces, a river that flows into a waterfall. Inside the house, the daughter finds a series of letters addressed to a family member who lived there 80 years ago. That's when the mystery begins. Please support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Letters from the past. The morning the Miller family arrived at Blackwood Estate, the air felt like it was woven from silk and ancient secrets. Mark, a landscape architect, and Sarah, a botanical illustrator, had spent their lives dreaming of such a canvas, but reality had exceeded their wildest imaginations. Their 17-year-old daughter, Chloe, leaned her head against the car window, watching the iron gates swing open without a single creak, as if the hinges had been oiled by invisible hands in anticipation of their arrival. The driveway wound through meadows so green they appeared emerald, dotted with wildflowers that pulsed with a faint, rhythmic luminosity in the shadows of the towering oaks. To their left, a river of impossible clarity sang over smooth stones, its current leading toward the horizon where the world seemed to drop away. This was the legendary waterfall of Blackwood, a silver veil that plummeted into a misty abyss, creating a permanent rainbow that arched over the property like a crown. As they stepped out of the car, a herd of white-tailed deer emerged from the tree line. They didn't flee but stood perfectly still, their obsidian eyes fixed on the newcomers with a gaze that felt uncomfortably heavy with recognition. Brilliant azure birds, unknown to any field guide, descended from the canopy to drink from the river, their songs sounding less like chirping and more like a haunting, melodic chant. While her parents were swept up in the grandeur of the foyer marble floors that mirrored the sky and mahogany banisters that felt warm to the touch, Chloe felt a distinct pull toward the upper reaches of the house. She climbed the grand staircase, her footsteps muffled by thick, dusty rugs that smelled of sandalwood and ozone. At the end of a long, sun-drenched corridor, she found a door that didn't appear on the blueprints they'd been sent. Inside was a study frozen in time. A single desk of charred oak sat in the center, and atop it lay a stack of envelopes, bound by a ribbon of tarnished silver. The letters were addressed to Elias Miller, a great-uncle, who had vanished in 1946. With a trembling hand, Chloe untied the ribbon. The paper was crisp and cold, as if it had been stored in a cellar. The first letter, dated exactly 80 years to the day before their arrival, began with a sentence that made the blood in her veins turn to ice. To the girl who stands in this room in the year 2026, wearing the silver locket of her grandmother, welcome home. Chloe gasped, her fingers clutching the locket she had indeed put on that morning. The letters were not just correspondence, they were a roadmap of the future. The writer, an anonymous friend of Elias, described Mark's gray-flecked hair, Sarah's penchant for painting the bluebirds, and the exact moment the family would first witness the deer at the riverbank. But as she read further, the tone shifted from prophetic wonder to a desperate, clawing warning. The beauty of Blackwood is a mask, the second letter whispered from the page. The river does not flow because of gravity, and the trees do not grow because of the sun. There is a deep, rhythmic hunger beneath the waterfaller, secret Elias tried to bury with his own shadow. You have inherited the house, yes, but you have also inherited the debt. Chloe looked out the window. Below, she saw her father kneeling by the river, cupping the water in his hands, laughing as a deer stepped closer to him. The scene was a masterpiece of tranquility, yet the letters spoke of a rot at the center of the bloom. As the sun began to set, casting long, violet shadows across the meadows, Chloe noticed a terrifying detail. The deer were no longer drinking. They were standing in a perfect circle around her father, their heads bowed in a way that looked less like nature and more like a ritual. The birds had stopped singing and were now perched in thousands on the roof of the house, their eyes glowing with a faint, bioluminescent gold. She tore into the final letter, her eyes blurring as she read the frantic script. Elias discovered that the land provides eternal life and beauty only if it is fed the memories of those who reside there. Every 80 years, the veil thins at the base of the waterfall. The family thinks they are moving into a paradise, but they are actually moving into a harvest. If the secret is not acknowledged by the youngest blood before the moon reaches its zenith, the house will fold inward, and the family will become the very spirits that haunt the woods, their names erased from the world above. A low, subterranean hum began to vibrate through the floorboards. Chloe ran down the stairs, screaming for her parents, but her voice felt thin, as if the house were drinking the sound. She burst through the front doors into the cooling evening air. The air was thick with the scent of lilies and decay. Her parents were standing at the edge of the waterfall now, staring into the mist with vacant, blissful smiles. They didn't hear her. They were mesmerized by the silver curtain of water, which had begun to glow with a pulsing, rhythmic light. The debt was coming due. Chloe realized the letters weren't just a warning, they were a key. She remembered a small, postscript note on the back of the last envelope. The river flows backward when the truth is spoken aloud. With the moon cresting the ridge, Chloe sprinted toward the waterfall, her heart hammering against her ribs. She saw the shadows of the deer lengthening, stretching toward her parents like dark ropes. She stood on the precipice, looking down into the churning white foam where she could see the faint, ghostly outlines of others who had come before Elias, and those who preceded him, trapped in a loop of eternal, mindless beauty. "I see you," she shrieked against the roar of the water. "I know the price of this place. We are not your harvest. I claim the debt of Elias Miller." The moment the words left her lips, the waterfall did something impossible. The water stopped midair. The roar vanished into a deafening silence. The silver veil began to retreat, flowing upward back into the riverbed. The deer scattered into the woods, their eyes losing their glow, and her parents collapsed onto the grass, the trance broken as the false peace of the estate shattered. The environment changed in an instant. The emerald grass turned to a natural, wild structure. The sapphire birds flew away, replaced by ordinary crows. And the house, while still grand, now looked its age, weathered and honest. The secret was out, the cycle broken by a voice that refused to ignore the hidden cost of paradise. As the family huddled together in the moonlight, Mark and Sarah looking at their daughter with a mix of confusion and sudden clarity, Chloe looked back at the house. The study window was dark now. She knew they couldn't stay in a place built on such a foundation, but she also knew they were finally free. The letters in her hand began to crumble into dust, blowing away into the wind, leaving her with only the memory of the warning and the weight of the silver locket against her chest.